the Oklahoma Newsroom, this is an OU update. I'm Jenny Carlson here with OU beat writer Ryan Aber. Ryan, people around Oklahoma still buzzing about that Army game on Saturday. Just an unbelievable overtime game, but some unbelievable individual performances within that game, including the Oklahoma linebackers, both of them tying or breaking the previous tackle
Curtis
record.
Bolton, it turns out, didn't
Did
tie
they
the
adjust
record.
it?
He was one. Well, he had 23. There was some discrepancy in OU's record books. Carl McAdams actually had it with 24, so Bolton was one off the record.
One off the record, but 23 for Curtis Bolton, 28 for Kenneth Murray. Unbelievable tackle numbers. And Ryan, as we talked on Saturday, and we've talked several times since then, 87 plays for the Oklahoma defense is not anything out of the ordinary in the Big 12, but the way the Army plays, it is different. So what are these guys saying now, several days after enduring that?
Well, I actually talked to Kenneth Murray quite a bit about that on Monday, and he said he was still sore Monday morning when he woke up, sore than he normally is, and he spent a little bit extra time in the cold tub on Saturday night immediately after the game. Said he went home, said hello to his girlfriend, and he said by the time that she finished saying, "You played a good game," he was out cold. And woke up Sunday, got extra treatment before their meetings, spent some extra time in the cold and the hot tub after their meetings. So a lot of treatment for those guys, especially in the front seven, because like you said, the play number wasn't out of the ordinary for a Big 12 game, but the way that those plays occurred was the fact that everything was concentrated on that front seven. Those linebackers, those defensive linemen really took a bruising. The secondary probably feels a whole lot like the offense, that they're refreshed and ready to go this week, which is good with Baylor coming to town.
Well, I was going to say, we'll get to Baylor in a second, but I was thinking, when you talk about an 87 play game for a defense, lots of times it's those cornerbacks and those safeties that have run and they're covering, and obviously they did that to some degree on Saturday, but not nearly like you would in a Big 12 game. So they might be the ones normally in the cold tub, in the hot tub, getting the extra treatments. It's not usually that front seven. So does Oklahoma have to do some things differently as the entire program to get those guys back on track, or is it on those individual players to make sure they're physically ready?
Yeah, Lincoln Riley talked about this, that he was planning on lightening the load on that front seven a little bit, using some younger players this week, some guys who haven't had much game experience. He said the good thing about it was there was only 12 or 13 guys really that were involved in the grueling part of that game, where they could give those guys a little bit of a breather this week leading up to the Baylor game. Obviously, Kenneth Murray and Curtis Bolton are going to be two of those guys, Kenneth Mann, Mark Jackson, guys like that. It helps that they're starting to get some depth back on that defensive front. Guys like Marquise Overton and Tyrese Lott are really close to returning, and that's going to help them in the front get a little bit more of a fresh feel to them.
Now, you mentioned Baylor before. Baylor comes to town on Saturday, 2:30 kick down in Norman. And we all know Baylor wants to throw it around. They will throw it around. So how does what happened against Army and the physical demands on especially your defensive line, your linebackers, how does that impact Saturday at Baylor? I mean, it's a different stress point for the defense, presumably, with their passing game. But how does this affect things?
I don't think it does. And there's a lot of Oklahoma fans who are gnashing their teeth about Mike Stoops and that defense. But the Army game isn't a point of concern because no team is going to do to Oklahoma what the Black Knights did on Saturday. To me, what happened a week earlier against Iowa State is much more of a concern. What Hakeem Butler was able to do, especially when you're facing an offense with two receivers like Denzel Mims and Jalen Hurd. Jalen Hurd's hurt the Sooners before, back when he was a Tennessee Volunteer running back. Now he's a receiver for Baylor, and could be a load for the Sooners secondary.
All right, Saturday afternoon, 2:30. If you're heading down to Norman, if you're not, ABC is where you can see the game broadcast. Be sure to stay with the best coverage team anywhere at newsok.com and every day in the Oklahoman.